Hey, welcome back to the site. I'm Trent, and tonight we're going to tie. Um, it's an old fly pattern. It's a hare's ear nymph. Well, it's a variation of a hare's ear nymph. It is my go-to fly. This is the fly that I usually have on first when I'm going out trying new waters. I have a lot of success with it. I love the fly. So sit back, get your beverage of choice, enjoy yourself, and let's get into the tie. All right, so I've went ahead and put the hook in the vise, and then I sized it with an appropriate brass bead. You could use tungsten or brass, whichever one you choose. I'm just putting a little lead. This is actually some 0.15 lead-free wire on here, and I'm putting this on for a couple reasons. One, it'll help stabilize that bead and center it on the hook, and the other is I like to just have a little extra weight, and I like to have a little bit of a beefier thorax right there, and the lead helps me get that without having to add a lot of, let me tighten up my vise a little bit. That lead allows that to happen without, having to add a whole bunch of extra dubbing. So we're just going to move on back. I like to start all my flies actually, but start this fly right at the barb of the hook. So I'm right there. We'll just clip off this excess. So for the tail of this fly, I don't have it out. We're going to take some fur off of, so here's the eyes. So this would be the forehead. So this longer hair right in this area of the mask. I'm just going to clip off a little bit for the tail. I just want some there. Now, I've seen people use goose biots. I've seen lots of different things be used for the tail, and it's certainly a sure fly. You can add or use whatever you want. So I got that clipped out, and now I'm just gonna brush out that underfur. It's in there. And the other thing you can do is just grab the tips and pull all that out. Now keep that underfur right here. You can use that. That's great dubbing. In fact, we're going to build most of this fly off dubbing of that nature. So once we're there, we just kind of get an idea of how much tail we want extended out there. So my rule of thumb, see that thread's not wanting to behave. So we're just going to spin that thread counterclockwise and cord it up. See how now it's just going to do what I want, be tight. So back to the rule of thumb. I kind of eyeball it, but I like my tail to be kind of equal to the gap. So it's not anything I measure, it's just an eyeball check, but it's kind of how I like to do it. And I'm going to tie in most of that material because it will help to smooth out that transition where the lead is. So we're just going to clip off that excess there. There's probably an easier way to do it, but so there we go. Now this fly is called the gold-ribbed hare's ear. So as you imagine, I'm going to be using, this is just some, I don't know if that's in focus for you or not. This is a small flat gold tinsel. So this isn't mylar. This isn't the stuff that's silver on one side and gold on the other. This is actual gold tinsel. So I'm just going to get that, take it in here, and like always, if you watch my videos, you know I tie my ribs in on the bottom. Got a little too much line out, so there. So now we'll just roll over, let that hang. Then we're going to start dubbing the body. So the body of this fly, I want to use a real light fawn colored dubbing. And I'm going to put just a little bit of dubbing wax, and I've got some dubbing wax here. I'm just going to put just a little bit on there. Now my secret to dubbing, which isn't a terribly big secret, but I think you should really dub as sparsely with thin little noodles rather than, you know, trying to put on a big thick yarn of material at one time. So I'd rather just come in, do a couple little thin noodles like I'm doing here. Now, if you notice, right up here, I don't really have any dubbing right at where the thread meets the hook, and that's on purpose. So it allows me to get one wrap back to where I want to start with bare thread, and then my dubbing will start. So it's just a nice little hack that I use when I'm dubbing. And this is, you know, this is supposed to be a little mayfly nymph. So if you go flipping your rocks over where you fish, and you see that the what they call the crawlies, the nymphs down there crawling around, this is what you want to tie to imitate it. This is my, I said it in the intro, but this is my kind of my go-to searcher pattern whenever I'm on water, whether it's new water or old water. I just love this fly, and I tie it in a lot of different sizes. I tie it fairly small, and I tie it up to a size 8, which is a fairly substantial fly. And I think at those sizes, maybe the fish are thinking that it's some sort of yellow stonefly, maybe. I know they take them, but they don't fill out surveys on what they thought it was. So, but that's what I think that they're kind of mistaking it for. I'm just building up a little bit of a taper to the body. So there, we're a little over halfway, and that's what we're going to call the abdomen of the fly. So now I'm ribbing it in gold. Its namesake, right? The gold ribbed hare's ear. So, and I'm just going to dub into where I'm going to tie my thorax. So this is a pretty straightforward, this is how most everybody ties this fly. But now comes my part I do. Different than something I add. It's not my invention, but so I take a little bit of this kind of pearl flashy material, and I'm going to roll this over so we can all see. And I like to tie this in right here. So we just bind all that down nice and tight. And the next thing we're going to do is we'll take some fibers off this turkey feather, and we're going to make the traditional dark wing case with this that most everybody you see on these flies. So you have this side, and then you have what they kind of call the duller side, maybe. This I guess would be the brighter, and then this is the duller. I like to tie this so that the duller side, the outside of it, is what is going to be seen. So that's facing the hook. So now we just get all that nice and bound down. Right? All right. So now for the thorax of the fly, it's deer hair, and I'm using, it's just a little darker material. Still super, super fine, super light. And that's the thing about these flies. There's not a lot to them, so they should sink really well for you, getting down on the bottom. So just a rule of thumb, this is just kind of Trent's rule of thumb for tying these. I usually use a 2X shank nymph hook is what I'm going to want to tie this fly on. But if I'm tying it as a bead head, like I am in this case, I tie it on a 3X shank hook. That way that bead kind of has its own space on the hook. And I'm making this one a little thicker. Still pretty thin noodle, but I'm making wraps on top of wraps, and I'll show you why when we get done. But yeah, so 3X shank hooks for beads, 2X shank hooks without beads is kind of my rule of thumb. How I tie these, how I tie all my nymphs actually. And we'll just come through some more, like so. Now we're going to bend over the turkey feather for the wing case, and then I'm going to put that flash material, I'm going to bend it right over the top of the turkey. See that? We'll just kind of hold that in position with a pinch. Give a couple wraps. Now, if you're adding a lot of torque, like I did, you saw how that rolled. That's just a thread torque. That's going to happen. It's normal. Just grab your material and work it back the way you want it. Some there. Just put a couple wraps in front of that. And we will cut off that excess material there. Now when you cut that excess material, make sure you don't accidentally clip your sparkle there. Now see, that works. You see that? That works in the water. I think it kind of looks like maybe that gas bubble that's trapped in the nymph as it's trying to get to the surface. I think that's what it looks like to the fish. I just know it works really well for me. So we're going to whip finish behind the bead. 1, 2, 3, push down. And that's done. Let's clip that thread off. Give a little Sally Jansen's on the right here where the wraps are, right behind that bead. Just put a little bit. Now I know I've seen people, they'll take this fly, they'll do what I just did, and then they'll cover that whole wing case with epoxy. You don't need to do that. You can. It's your fly. You can do it if you want. I don't, but you can. So now what I'm doing is I'm just going to take my dubbing brush and just kind of comb out that thorax to get those illusion of legs that I'm looking for, right? Because again, this is that crawler. Crawls around on the bottom. You can scope them down or to the side, however you want. But there you have it. There is my flashback gold-ribbed hare's ear nymph. This is on a size 12. I tie these down pretty small onto, I think 14 is about the smallest I go on tying them. And then, like I said, I carry a few all the way up to a size 10 or size 8 as well, just because they can produce fish sometimes when others won't. I hope you enjoyed it. If you like this kind of content, please hit that like, subscribe, follow, whatever that is. And till next time, I will see you around the vise.